put too much pressure on Tyler Perry. You know what I mean? He ain't put nobody on. The people that been in his productions, they not famous. All of them can walk through the mall without security.
This video discusses online allegations, rumors, and public reactions for commentary purposes only. Nothing presented should be considered confirmed fact, and viewers should use their own judgment.
Because P. Diddy be wanting the body, and you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did.
Hollywood appears to be facing another wave of uncomfortable questions, and this time, the conversation is not centered on one scandal, leaked message, or sudden controversy. Instead, people are looking at a pattern that they believe raises bigger questions about fame, influence, and power. Once you begin noticing that pattern, it becomes difficult to ignore. The discussion surrounding Teyana Taylor has become part of that larger conversation, with comedian Katt Williams' alleged comments adding fuel to the speculation. This is not the polished version of the story that audiences usually see. It is not simply about talent, hard work, good timing, or someone becoming successful because they deserved a bigger opportunity. The discussion is more complicated. It focuses on strategy, relationships, connections, image, and the people who may have influence behind the scenes. According to what Katt Williams has allegedly suggested, Hollywood can sometimes operate through leverage rather than loyalty. In that kind of environment, relationships may have professional consequences, silence can become valuable, and certain decisions can affect a person's career in ways the public never sees. That raises some uncomfortable questions. Why do so many people enter powerful entertainment systems with huge potential but leave without the level of influence they seemed destined to have? Why do new faces continue appearing while the same structures remain in place? And why do people who cooperate with the system often seem to move forward while those who challenge it can face unexpected resistance? None of this proves that anyone involved has done something wrong. These are allegations, interpretations, and theories being discussed publicly, not established facts. Still, the conversation continues because people are interested in who benefits from certain situations, who stays silent, and who appears to gain momentum when others are struggling. Behind the red carpets, award shows, movie premieres, and public relationships, Hollywood can be a highly competitive business. Personal emotions and professional opportunities can sometimes become connected. A relationship may attract attention, create new connections, or change how someone is viewed within the industry. A breakup can become more than a private event when both people have public careers and different ambitions. That is where the discussion about Teyana Taylor and Iman Shumpert enters the picture. Their marriage ended publicly, and fans naturally viewed the situation through the lens of heartbreak and family. However, some online discussions have attempted to interpret the split as something more strategic. One theory suggests that Iman wanted a more stable path centered around family and personal legacy, while Teyana was interested in expanding her career and reaching a broader audience. There is no confirmed evidence that their divorce happened because of career strategy, so that interpretation should be treated carefully. People can simply grow apart and want different things from life. But according to the speculation surrounding Katt Williams' alleged comments, the difference in their goals is being viewed as an example of how personal relationships and professional ambitions can sometimes move in different directions. After the divorce, Teyana continued building her career rather than disappearing from the spotlight. Her name became connected with other high-profile figures, including actor Aaron Pierre. Online discussions interpreted that connection in different ways, with some seeing it as a normal personal relationship and others describing it as part of a larger career strategy. Again, there is no proof that the relationship was arranged or designed for professional gain. The speculation later expanded when Leonardo DiCaprio's name entered the conversation. There was no clear confirmation establishing the rumors as fact, but people pointed to industry events, social circles, and celebrity connections as reasons for further discussion. Much of this remains speculation, and proximity to another celebrity does not automatically mean there is a hidden arrangement. Another major point of discussion involves criticism surrounding one of Teyana's projects. Some viewers argued that Black women were being sexualized or that certain visual choices were shaped by male expectations. People expected a strong public response, but the discussion instead focused on career momentum, recognition, and visibility. That led some commentators to connect the situation to Katt Williams' broader criticism of Hollywood. The alleged message is that success in entertainment can sometimes require difficult compromises, and public silence may occasionally protect opportunities. But that does not mean every decision is evidence of manipulation or control. Tyler Perry eventually became another major name in the discussion. He represents a powerful entertainment platform with the ability to create opportunities, produce projects, and influence careers. According to one version of a story being circulated online, Teyana entered a period where she was dealing with personal changes while also trying to rebuild and expand professionally. From the outside, the situation may look simple. A talented performer experienced major changes in her personal life and continued moving forward. But online commentators have turned it into a much bigger conversation about Hollywood, relationships, ambition, and power. The important thing is to separate confirmed events from rumors and interpretations. Whatever people believe about the situation, the larger debate remains interesting. Hollywood has always been a place where talent, timing, networking, image, and opportunity intersect. Sometimes success comes from hard work alone. Other times, connections and strategic decisions can also play a role. The real question is not whether every rumor is true, but why these stories continue to attract so much attention and why audiences remain fascinated by what might happen behind the scenes.
How she is showing me everything that she's been able to do is really phenomenal. This woman, when I called her up to do the movie, she was like, yeah, I think I know. But she killed it. You'll see what I mean. You will see what I mean.
On the surface, it sounded like mentorship, praise, and a valuable opportunity. That is often how power presents itself. It can look supportive and generous, especially when someone is given attention during a vulnerable or uncertain moment. However, critics of the system argue that praise can sometimes become a quiet form of control. When a powerful person gives someone visibility or access at an important point in their life, it can create a strong connection that may never be written down but is still deeply understood. According to the perspective attributed to Katt Williams, Tyler Perry is more than just a filmmaker. He represents a larger network and system within Hollywood, and systems like that often come with their own rules. The idea is simple: work with the machine, and the machine can help move your career forward. In this version of the story, Teyana may not have entered the situation without understanding what was happening. At the same time, the access being offered may have come with expectations. Rather than being a simple story of exploitation, it can be viewed as an exchange of influence, visibility, stability, and silence. There are no clear heroes or villains. Instead, it is a complicated system where everyone may be using the opportunities available to them. But then, the conversation changed when another familiar voice returned: Jaguar Wright. Her reappearance brought new attention to the situation and changed the mood surrounding the entire discussion.
It happened to Black Hollywood, and he did it by using stupid, ignorant, so-called Christian to fund all of his very homosexual behavior. He ain't rich.
Hashtag Hollywood Power, Silence, and the price of survival. These are Jaguar Wright's allegations, not proven facts or confirmed claims. Still, her words had a strong impact because she has built a reputation for speaking about things that other people are often unwilling to discuss. Her comments made people uncomfortable, but they also changed the way some viewers looked at the situation. Suddenly, Tyler Perry was being discussed not only as a powerful Hollywood figure, but also as someone connected to a much larger conversation about influence, control, and controversy. Hollywood does not always react strongly to simple gossip. What creates real concern is when different stories begin to appear connected and when people believe certain patterns are repeating. At this point, the discussion became bigger than one woman's career decisions. It turned into a conversation about how Black women can sometimes be treated within the entertainment industry. They may be expected to be strong while dealing with difficult situations behind the scenes. They may also be placed in roles that focus heavily on their appearance, sexuality, personal struggles, or emotional experiences. When they understand how the system works and adapt to it, they can receive more opportunities and greater visibility. However, that does not necessarily mean they have complete control over their careers. Katt Williams is not necessarily saying that Teyana Taylor is a villain. The larger point is that Hollywood often rewards people who know how to adapt to its rules. Success can require understanding what to say, what not to say, when to speak, and when to remain quiet. The difficult part is that once someone becomes successful within that environment, leaving the system behind may not be as simple as it appears from the outside. Today, Teyana Taylor remains in the spotlight, receiving attention, praise, and professional opportunities. But history has shown that public support can change quickly when circumstances shift. That creates an uncomfortable question. Is Teyana Taylor simply learning how to navigate the entertainment industry, or could the same system eventually place greater pressure on her? Hollywood rarely becomes concerned just because rumors are spreading. The situation becomes more serious when people begin connecting different events and noticing what they believe are repeating patterns. By the time this story entered another stage, something seemed to have changed behind the scenes. The way people communicated appeared different. Phones may not have been ringing with the same opportunities, invitations could become more selective, and private conversations might require more trust than before. When a powerful system realizes that people are paying attention, it does not always explain itself publicly. Sometimes it simply changes its approach. The public image surrounding Teyana Taylor became noticeably controlled. Her appearances remained polished, her public messaging stayed consistent, and there were no major emotional reactions dominating the conversation. There were no dramatic public confrontations or chaotic responses. Instead, everything appeared carefully handled. In Hollywood, that kind of restraint can sometimes be meaningful. According to the narrative presented by industry observers, this is the stage where careers are not necessarily destroyed. Instead, they're managed. Problems may not be directly denied. They can be redirected through positive projects, new opportunities, public appearances, and carefully presented success. Difficult questions can become less visible when a person continues moving forward. What makes this situation interesting is not only what was said, but also what was left unsaid. There were no major public rebuttals, dramatic confrontations, or detailed explanations. Instead, there was movement. Projects continued. Opportunities remained available. Public visibility increased. Critics of Hollywood power structures often point to this as an important part of the industry. They argue that continued momentum after controversy does not always happen by accident. Sometimes influential people or organizations decide that a particular person still has value and should remain part of the larger picture. This is where the idea of power becomes more complicated. Power does not always have to destroy talent. Sometimes it can absorb talent. Once someone becomes part of an established system, the expectations surrounding that person may change. Success can come with responsibilities, relationships, and unspoken expectations that outsiders may never see. From this perspective, silence is not necessarily an absence of activity. It can be a form of control or containment. The message may be simple: speak carefully, work hard, stay focused, and avoid disrupting the system that is currently providing opportunities. The alleged framework suggested by Katt Williams points toward another important idea. The real test may not happen when everything is falling apart. It may happen when everything starts working again. Recovery can look positive from the outside, but within a powerful industry, returning to success may come with expectations that are never openly discussed. That same conversation also affected the way people viewed Tyler Perry's position. The discussion did not necessarily become louder. Instead, it became more subtle. Public praise continued, professional relationships remained visible, and there was no obvious public break. But the questions surrounding his influence changed. The question was no longer simply whether Tyler Perry had power. That was already widely understood. The deeper question became what that power might require from people who benefit from being connected to it. There is an important difference between influence that helps someone grow and influence that makes someone dependent. A person may receive opportunities, support, and exposure through a powerful network, but those benefits can also create a sense of obligation. Once someone becomes successful with the help of a system, that system may also gain something from the relationship, including loyalty, cooperation, or silence. That does not mean every successful person is controlled, and these claims should not be treated as established facts. Especially for Black women, There is often an expectation that they should endure everything, adjust to difficult situations, and remain graceful while carrying stories they never created for themselves. When they finally speak about what they have experienced, they can quickly be labeled as unstable, difficult, angry, or ungrateful. Because of that, many choose not to speak at all. They keep moving forward, and Hollywood praises their strength without stopping to ask why they were forced to become so strong in the first place. By this point, another pattern becomes noticeable. Critics and people raising difficult questions are not always challenged directly. Instead, they are often ignored. In a system built around power, silence from people at the top does not necessarily mean weakness. Sometimes, it can be a strategy. Responding to criticism gives it attention and makes it seem more important. Ignoring it can slowly take away its momentum. That may explain why serious allegations are often pushed aside instead of being addressed directly. New headlines appear. New projects are announced. New interviews create fresh conversations, and eventually the original questions begin to disappear from public attention. But that strategy does not always work forever. There can come a moment when the audience starts noticing the gaps. When praise begins to feel carefully planned, and when success seems to arrive unusually quickly after controversy, people may stop being curious and start becoming suspicious. Suspicion is much harder to control. At that point, the situation can begin to feel like a courtroom without a judge. On one side is a polished public image, complete with interviews, award discussions, major projects, and carefully managed appearances. On the other side are patterns, timing, unanswered questions, and long periods of silence. There may not be enough evidence to prove wrongdoing, but there can still be enough uncertainty to make people uncomfortable. That uncertainty can become dangerous for any powerful system because institutions do not always collapse because of one undeniable piece of proof. Sometimes they weaken because doubt refuses to disappear. This is also where the deeper tragedy begins. It is not simply about whether someone has been exposed. It is about the price a person may pay to survive within a powerful industry. According to critics of these systems, the greatest cost is not always financial. It can be personal freedom and control over your own life. A person does not necessarily lose their voice in one dramatic moment. Instead, they may give pieces of it away slowly, one decision at a time. One compromise may be presented as a great opportunity. One period of silence may be explained as professionalism. One difficult subject may be avoided because speaking about it could affect future work. Eventually, those small decisions can become a permanent pattern while the industry continues moving forward. What makes this kind of story powerful is not simply the possibility of scandal. It is the fact that the pattern feels familiar. People have seen similar situations involving different individuals, yet the structure can look remarkably similar. A woman rises through difficult circumstances. A powerful system surrounds her. Protection and opportunities are offered, but expectations come with them. Over time, the spotlight that once represented success can begin to feel like a cage. The most troubling question is not only whether every allegation is true. It is why some allegations can sound believable to the public in the first place. Years of stories about unequal power, carefully controlled images, and people remaining silent have taught audiences to recognize certain patterns. Silence can be presented as maturity. Endurance can be called empowerment. Having access to powerful people can be mistaken for having real freedom. And once a system becomes stable, that stability can create another problem. There may be fewer public arguments, fewer dramatic headlines, and fewer visible conflicts. Everything appears calm. Projects continue. Deals are completed quietly. The same powerful names continue appearing in important places. On the surface, everything looks normal, but beneath that calm can be something much heavier. Control. This is the stage people rarely talk about. Protection can eventually stop feeling like safety and start feeling like supervision. The spotlight remains, but it becomes narrower. The room becomes quieter. Choices may become more limited even while the person's career appears successful. The message becomes simple. Do not disrupt the story. Do not challenge the established narrative, and do not reopen questions that powerful people would rather leave behind. At that point, the goal is no longer simply growth. It becomes maintenance. Industry observers often describe this as the stage when a career does not collapse but becomes carefully managed. The person is no longer viewed only as an artist or performer. They can begin to be treated like an asset, and assets are expected to protect their value. The pattern can repeat itself again and again. A woman survives hardship, and her pain is transformed into a story about resilience. Her silence is praised as maturity. Her difficult experiences become part of her public image, while she may gradually be discouraged from discussing the past honestly. Sometimes this does not happen through direct threats. It can happen through incentives. Opportunities arrive at convenient moments. Visibility increases when criticism becomes louder. Celebration replaces difficult conversations. The public may see that attention as proof of freedom, while people inside the industry may understand that success and control can exist at the same time. Eventually, the whispers are no longer just about allegations. They become questions about conditions. Who is allowed to speak? Who is expected to remain quiet? Who has already learned what can happen when they challenge the accepted rules? Hollywood may not always need to openly blacklist someone. Sometimes it can simply stop making the calls. When opportunities disappear quietly, the silence can become louder than any public argument. That is where the situation becomes especially painful. The tragedy is not always that someone is exposed. Sometimes it is that someone becomes too good at adapting. Adaptation is praised in entertainment until it begins to cost a person their own voice. Each quiet boundary that gets crossed makes the next one easier. They are often labeled difficult, unstable, or ungrateful. Because of that, many people simply go along with what is expected of them. They stay quiet, follow the rules, and avoid creating problems. That kind of compliance helps keep the entire machine running. What makes this stage of the story so unsettling is not necessarily what is happening in public, but what is missing. There is no major public reckoning, no clear accountability, and no real sense of closure. Instead, everything continues moving forward as if nothing happened. The industry keeps producing new stories, new stars, and new headlines. But that constant momentum can become dangerous when it moves in the wrong direction. Once a powerful system decides that someone is valuable, it may not let that person walk away easily. Instead, the pressure can become stronger. The expectations become clearer, and the consequences of stepping outside those expectations become harder to ignore. This is where the courtroom comparison becomes useful. There may be no judge, no official verdict, and no written sentence. Instead, there can be an unspoken agreement between the individual and the system. Stay in line, and you will continue to receive opportunities, attention, and protection. Challenge the arrangement, and those benefits may suddenly disappear. History has shown versions of this pattern many times. The same systems that help people rise can also distance themselves when protecting someone becomes inconvenient or costly. Support can have an expiration date, and staying silent does not necessarily make that protection last forever. Eventually, the audience begins to feel that something is wrong. The applause can seem rehearsed. The praise can feel carefully planned. Even success can appear controlled rather than completely natural. That creates an uncomfortable feeling because genuine freedom is rarely neat. It can be loud, unpredictable, emotional, and difficult to control. What we are seeing here feels different. It looks more like containment under the bright lights. The most disturbing part is that nobody involved necessarily has to be openly evil for this kind of system to exist. A system does not always need obvious villains. Sometimes it only needs people who are willing to cooperate with it. Individuals do not have to secretly meet together and plan everything. They may simply benefit from keeping things the way they are. When someone's career, money, reputation, or position depends on silence, the system can continue protecting itself without anyone giving a direct order. That is why stories like these often do not end with dramatic explosions or huge confrontations. Instead, they end with the person being slowly absorbed into the system. The public story can close around them like a carefully designed cage. From the outside, that cage may look comfortable. It may look luxurious, successful, and even enviable. but from the inside, it can feel restrictive. The tragedy is not always that the truth is completely hidden. Sometimes the greater problem is that the truth becomes inconvenient for everyone who has something to lose. Once the public moves on, the system gains another advantage. The person at the center may be left with a difficult choice: protect everything they have built or risk losing it by speaking openly. Many people choose survival. That does not automatically mean they are weak or dishonest. Sometimes the price of telling the truth is made so high that honesty becomes almost impossible. This is why the bigger story is not simply about one relationship, one movie, or one platform. It is about how power moves through an industry, how silence can become valuable, and how survival can be presented as success. The important question is not only whether certain allegations were true. Another question is whether the system would even allow the truth to have a meaningful impact. Powerful industries may not always fear exposure as much as they fear disruption. Real disruption comes when people refuse to remain quiet, controlled, or easily managed. By the end, the audience is left with an uncomfortable realization. Some systems do not really create winners. They create survivors. And in a structure built around influence, connections, and leverage, survival often comes with a price. The spotlight remains bright. The industry continues moving. The applause continues. Yet underneath all of it, there can be a heavy silence that says more than words ever could. When power stops responding to criticism, that does not automatically prove innocence. It may simply mean that the system has already decided whose voice matters and whose voice can be ignored. Stories like these rarely end with a clear conclusion. Instead, they can disappear into the larger machine, just as many stories before them have faded from public attention. People are rarely warned when silence becomes permanent. There is no announcement telling someone that their protection has ended. One day the phone calls may become less frequent. Eventually, they may stop completely. This is one way an industry can move away from a story it no longer wants to address. It does not always need dramatic denials or courtroom battles. Sometimes it simply creates distance. That absence can become louder than any accusation because it shows how quickly public attention can disappear. When a system believes it can survive public outrage, it may simply wait. Emotions eventually cool down. News cycles change. Audiences become interested in something else. A new headline replaces the old one, and the previous story slowly fades. That may be one of the deepest betrayals. It is not necessarily about broken relationships or forgotten promises. It is the moment someone realizes that their silence was never truly respected. It was expected. This is how people can become trapped between survival and truth. Speaking out can put everything they have built at risk. Remaining quiet can slowly make them feel disconnected from who they really are. The problem is not simply that power exists. Power will always exist in some form. The deeper problem is when power presents itself as opportunity. It tells people they have been chosen. It tells them they are protected. It makes them believe they are safe until circumstances change. Then, when the spotlight moves somewhere else, they are left carrying the weight of every compromise they made just to remain standing. That is the part the cameras rarely show.